everyone, this is Devin Moreno and welcome to the Baltimore Investors channel. And today I wanted to do a series, just a new little series about the small tiny nuances of being an investor and a landlord that you may not come across in other videos. See, a lot of YouTubers making these videos online have to appeal to as broad a demographic as possible. So often we talk about the same thing, a lot of the how to run the numbers and how to buy the property, but what I wanted to do was make a small list of things where, as I was beginning as a new investor, these were really problematic issues that I came across that no one ever mentioned because they're so small that seasoned investors don't even really bother to mention them. And they can be a pain in the butt for anyone just starting in this business. So here it is, my list of 5 things, the first 5 that you will need to know if you are going to start investing. Like I said, these are minor issues, but it's nice to know them ahead of time. So please like the content if you absolutely like this whole series of videos, if this is helpful for you, especially new investors who have no experience in real estate like myself when I had started off in this business. So the first thing I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about is appliances. Appliances were a big problem for me. See, I started to rack up a bunch of rental properties, not only the ones that I own, but also the ones that I managed. And I had a bit of a problem with new appliances. See, new appliances, when we're talking about washers and dryers, we want to get them from the most obvious places as a new investor. So you'd call up Home Depot and you'd realize, wait a minute, they don't have any on stock, none at all. Yes, unfortunately, it is a problem. Lowe's, Home Depot, all of them don't carry any washers and dryers on stock. They're going to be 2 weeks out for delivery, and even when they deliver them, you still need someone to come and install that thing for you, and some of these appliances can be pretty heavy. So we're talking about $400 even for your most basic rental grade washer and dryer or whatever it is you're buying, and then another, like, let's say $200 for someone to hook it up for you. This can be an extremely costly affair and will kill an entire month's rent easily for your cash flow adjustments. So essentially, you need to find a way to do it cheaper and faster. See, if the person has a refrigerator that's not working, you can't tell them that 2 weeks from now is when you're going to give them a new one. They need to eat. Same with a stove, same with other main appliances. So we have an answer for you on that one, and that is appliance delivery guys. Essentially, these low-key market guys are a little bit harder to find. You can't really Google them as easily, but they're guys who normally repair appliances. You can often find them just simply by looking for appliance repair. A lot of times, these guys will repair appliances and then deliver them to you at a fraction of the cost. A lot of their deliveries have to be done in bulk, so they'll spend an entire day just delivering different appliances to different locations. All of these are completely used. You might get a little bit some of the rougher end ones where the appliance guys are finding really rough appliances. Maybe they're completely broken and they're trying to fix them up heavily, or they might even be brand new and they just specialize in buying them in bulk from Home Depot since they won't carry them in stock. If you're wondering why they don't carry them in stock, it's because they don't want them dented or damaged. They can't have anything happen to the appliances before they give them to the consumers. Otherwise, it lowers the value. Well, these groups end up purchasing lots of them, get them at a bargain price, and you'll end up having a new washer and dryer or a new refrigerator delivered to your home and the old one hauled away, all for about $200. That is a bargain deal, if any, for all appliances. This is something you definitely want to find. Have someone, an appliance guy, in your phone, just somewhere, address book, wherever you put it, and have them on call. That will help you enormously. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the water bills. Now, water bills in most places is really not that big a deal. You just automate it as far as payment, or you put it onto the tenant. However, in Baltimore City, there's 2 problems with doing that. Number 1 is water bills cannot be automated in Baltimore City, at least at the time of recording this video. That is a very weird thing. Like, you can't automate the water bill. Yes, you have to, for every single one of your properties, log on, go to the Baltimore City water bill website, and then type in your checking and account information, let them bill you, and then you have to do that every month for every property that you own. This can become extremely annoying. So I do have properties outside of Baltimore City, and in there you can automate the process, but in Baltimore you absolutely cannot. The second problem with giving it to your tenants to pay is a lot of times they can put, the city will put a lien on your property for unpaid water bills. See, they'll never shut the water off. A lot of times the tenants can pretty much stop paying the water bill, the water will keep flowing, and then your property might be just simply taken from you. So you absolutely don't want to leave that responsibility on the tenant. Now you might say that you just kick the tenant out if they don't pay the water bill, but if they're paying the rent, probably better to just simply up the rent $25 and just pay for the water bill on your own. Sometimes utilities are a little easier to work out that way. And even if you have the tenant pay it in Baltimore City, the real problem is since it cannot be automated and they will never shut the water off, the tenant may just forget to pay it altogether, and by the time they realize that you have a massive water bill, they can no longer afford it, since typically most tenants live paycheck to paycheck and can't afford a sudden new $500 water bill. So I would highly recommend paying for the water bill yourself. Do not allow the tenants to pay it. Just do it, handle it, and get rid of that problem. And yes, like I said, it cannot be automated. There's really no way around this. So if you happen to be in Baltimore City, just remember to check on all your water bills, maybe assign a day in the month, and just simply pay them off all at once. So another problem that I had with renting these houses was looking for a property manager myself. So what I noticed when I started property managing was I really did not like managing properties in low-end areas. Let's say if the rent is extremely low and the area is really, really rough, what you're actually looking at is about triple the amount of work for a fraction of the price. So you see, property managers get paid based on a percentage of the rent amount. So let's say it's 10% of the total amount of rent being paid. Well, 10% of $2,000 is going to be a lot more than 10% of $800. Not only that, but a lot of times in these lower end areas, you have to be a lot more picky about what you replace. Nothing is as new and things break a lot more frequently. The area is a little bit rougher. So you're talking about more headaches and less money to do so. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I don't think I ever want to manage these low end properties again. I'm only going to manage high end properties where the rents were about $2,000. Large townhomes out in the county and such. And then I realized that other property managers think pretty much the same way. You will actually find it very difficult to get your property to have a property manager for these really low-end properties. So if you're out here in Baltimore City renovating out in some of the rougher areas of town, then I would recommend making sure that you have property managers who can manage that in an area if you can't manage it yourself. You're going to find that a lot of property managers will reject it, and if they do accept it, they might have a lot of stipulations on that. So just keep that in mind when you're renting in lower income areas. It is a bit problematic to automate that process. Another issue I found as a new landlord in Baltimore City was the small jobs, the little things. See, I had a roof issue where the ceiling was leaking. Just basically, the roof needed to be repaired. Well, I hired the roofer for the larger job, which was to repair the roof. The problem was that the ceiling had dripped and now needed to have a hole cut in it, and where it could be cut out and then replaced with new sheetrock. Try finding a contractor who will do that job for a low price. It's a really tiny fix, and unfortunately, you're not going to find very many contractors who are going to want to do that. So I have some friends who invest from out of state. If they had an issue like that, they'd have to hire yet another handyman to go in there and repair that ceiling block, because my roofers don't do that. And if you find a group that's maybe a general contractor who does all of this stuff, they're going to charge you even more onto the top just to orchestrate all these different contractors in places they need to be. And this goes for everything. Screen repairs. If your tenant just breaks some screens, that is so cheap of a cost that most handyman won't even take the job. Then we're talking about painting. If it's a small patchwork paint, almost anything tiny is kind of a pain in the butt. You often have to go on your own if you don't already manage a crew. But of course, if you're a new investor like I was starting out, then that means you don't have your own crew of handymen and you really don't have that many people to do these small jobs for you. So just keep that in mind, that you're probably gonna have to get down and do some of the dirty work yourself if you really want to maximize your savings and maximize the rent potential. Every single time you spend $1 in this business, you're often not gonna see those returns to make any of this even worth it. And the final thing I learned as a new investor in the city is that smaller things will pile up on you quite quickly after a new renovation. You see, the thing is, you have to recognize that as a new investor in this city, you probably aren't that great at renovating or leading contractors to renovate for you. You might hire out a general contractor, you might hire out all these teams of people who are very good at their job, but you might find that one, maybe you don't have enough money to do all of the little things that need to be done, or two, you really didn't know that they were even there. One example I can give of that is I had a plumber repipe all the pipes within a house, and so I had all brand new pipes, didn't want to deal with the galvanized steel, you don't want it. So after my tenants moved in, I show them the water is running, everything is good. Of course, we tested it. And then as they're flushing toilet paper and all kinds of feces and everything else down there, suddenly everything was backing up, and it was backing up to the basement, and the basement was flooding with water and all of this sewage. So it turns out a tree outside was growing roots through the pipes, and we didn't notice that because, of course, when you're just flushing water down it, it's going to flush and nothing's going to happen. But when you finally have people living there and flushing all this other stuff, it catches onto the roots outside where the tree is growing through the pipes and then backs up the water main. So essentially, we only ran into that issue after tenants were living there. A lot of other issues are going to pile up quite a bit just as well on your first couple of tenants. You're going to have to feel a little bit of hurt as you're dealing with all these tenant complaints based on your first renovation project, maybe even your second and third. Unfortunately, you just simply are going to miss things. You're going to mess up, and it will take that first batch of tenants. They're probably going to want to move out. They might even ask you for money for their inconveniences and time that you've taken out of their lives as they have to deal with contractors. It will probably be a bit of an annoying situation, but you will work through it, and then the next tenant that you move in there will have a perfect time. As you get a little bit more experience with renovations, you'll probably be able to catch most of these issues, if not all of them, before the tenant even moves into the house. But just be prepared to have that little bit of a gut punch as you are constantly feeling bad for all of the maintenance you need to do on the house. So that is it. That is my 5 tips of little things I found annoying as a new investor. And remember, these don't pertain necessarily to Baltimore City, but I absolutely did encounter them, and I do think they're good for like these little small quick tidbit videos. So if you like these type of videos, comment below, let me know, and let me know what you want to see in the future, and I'll absolutely put that to video. Let's talk to you guys very soon.